key factors were one, the ability to win a turnover margin by 6, but as you saw, to be able to produce 28 points because of those turnovers was huge. There was another game, I can't forget, that a team won the game but lost the turnover margin by 6 that same week, and our players were the Duke game, and our players like, Coach, turnover margin is important. They lost the turnover margin by 6 and still won the game, but as you look, if you can't turn those turnovers into points, convert to points, like it really won't have a huge determination on the outcome of the game. And so that was huge. To get 28 points out of those 6 turnovers was big. The ability to outrush Navy, win the explosive play battle, and then we won the battlefield position by 20 yards, which is the most we've done all year. So those were all key factors into the outcome of that game. We were able to put that game to rest last week and really focus on improving, preparing and recovering during this bye week. And I thought our guys and our coaching staff did a really good job at doing that. The players of the game for Navy were on offense, Jeremiah Love. For defense was Jalen Sneed, and special teams was James Rendell. And then the scout players of the week on offense were Jake Tefelsky, with a special shout out to Tyler Buckner and the job he did. Defensively was Jerry Rulo, and special teams was Tommy Paulus. A couple injury updates. Tay Johnson will be available this week. Moving forward, he started practicing last week and should be available this week. Mitch Jeter is still questionable. Really has improved in terms of his recovery or his, rehab from the injury a couple weeks ago, but he's still questionable. And Logan Thomas will be questionable with a right hamstring from the Navy game. Moving forward to Florida State, listen, it's a very talented football team, and it doesn't take long to turn on the film and realize how talented they are. They might be one of the most talented teams we face all year, and that's just what the film tells you. And the record doesn't reflect their talent. They've had to deal with some injuries, especially at QB, that has affected the outcome of their games. Our team must and we will respect the challenge that Saturday night here at Notre Dame Stadium versus Florida State will present. And so we have to continue to respect that by the way we prepare. So this is a crucial week of preparation. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
First question on the right, third row, Tim Priester.
Coach, I know Florida State has added a bunch of transfers, and you've talked in the past about chemistry and trying to strike that balance. I'm not asking for a commentary on Florida State, and I know you've commented on this before, striking the balance, how important is that for you at Notre Dame, finding the balance between the right number of transfers and then sticking with the 4-year plan?
Yeah, I've said this, I think, from the beginning, and I'll continue to say it, is that the foundation of our program has to be built through high school recruiting. And again, one of the greatest strengths we have is the love for this place, the love for this university, the love for each other. And it's hard to gain that instantly, maybe if you're only here for a year. But that's my philosophy moving forward. Now, we'll utilize the transfer portal for very specific reasons, specific positions that we need to enhance immediately. But again, I want to continue to create the foundation of our program through high school recruiting.
In the past you've said during bye weeks you'll use some of that time to communicate with some of the players about what's going to happen moving forward. I wonder, now that you're far enough removed with Patello's injury, have you discussed about the possibility of him returning?
Yeah, he's planning on coming back next year.
Third row on your left, Pete Byrne.
Hi, Marcus. Excuse me. 2 weeks ago, before the Navy game, you talked about how you liked the fact that they were undefeated and ranked, and that it's easy to get your team's attention when you can throw all that out there. This week's the opposite, right? I mean, and you've already mentioned that the record doesn't match up with the talent, but what is your message, and how important is it to reinforce?
Yeah, I even heard it last week on the road recruiting, and people, oh, you guys at Florida State, they're struggling. And yes, their record might not be where they want it to be, but, I'm not trying to make this team something they're not. They're a talented football team. And that's going to be my message to the team, is that we respect our opponent. You don't have to watch many plays to realize how talented they are. But we got to continue to do the things in preparation to make sure we give our program the best chance to have success on Saturday. And that's what we got to remember. It's a mental preparation and a physical preparation. And we know what the result is when you don't mentally prepare the right way. We know it. And that's why I always say keep the pain of NIU, because that's a result of not having the right mindset. Like, how do you handle success? And it's important that our guys understand that, right? You're going to be presented every day with, two options, right? Choose easy, choose hard. And my message will continue to be, we have only one option. It's choose hard. And that's what we have to do to continue to elevate as a program.
The playoff rankings will come out tomorrow. Is that something you want you guys to ignore? Will you address it? You know that they can't hide from it.
Yeah, they're going to look, and I'm sure somebody will tell me what we're ranked, and I'll continue to remind them that it's great, but that has no impact on our future, right? Like, we got to make sure right now we take care of what's important, because if we think that the rankings of tomorrow are going to be what the rankings are at the end of the season, and then we're crazy. We got to take care of what we have right in front of us, and that's this opportunity to prepare for Florida State.
Front row on your right, Eric Hansen.
Coach, after the Navy game, you kind of left the door open that maybe the offensive line configuration that we saw in that game wasn't necessarily the offensive line configuration we'd see moving forward. With the bye week and getting some time for clarity, what is the offensive line configuration?
Yeah, it'll be the same for Florida State as it was for Navy. That's what our depth chart says right now. Every week the roles can change at any position, including offensive line. Now, I'm not saying every week we're going to change offensive line or we're going to change who's starting, but that's the mindset that we all have to have. Every week your role can change based on how you prepare, but based on what this team needs you to do to have success on Saturday. And that's what's important for everybody in our program to understand, is that we're not changing who's starting just to change. If we believe this is what it takes to have success against this opponent, then we have to be willing as a coaching staff to change who's starting and who's playing and all those different things. But no, we're not changing our offensive line for this game.
Okay, and I did not see the depth chart yet. And I'm wondering, I don't know if Jason Anye's on it or not, but if he's not, is there a chance he returns this year?
No, he's not on it right now. He's just taking some personal time right now to get some things that he needs. And so if there's a chance for him to return, we would love to have him back. But right now we just got to support Jason getting the help he needs for Jason.
Thank you.
Up the middle aisle, Tim O'Malley.
Coach, not a question you've gotten 3 or 4 years ago, but now it's relevant. How do you re-recruit a current player who doesn't have a clear path to a major role next season? It's something that has popped up now in the last few years.
I don't love the term re-recruit, because when you think about recruiting, you think about you're trying to build a relationship with a high school recruit or somebody to get them to choose your program, right? That's why we recruit you. We build relationships. We try to show you what's great about this place, that you should choose this place. I hope we never lose that relationship that we've built with them. And I think what we got to continue to do is just continue to double down on those relationships and that trust that player has with his coach. Part of that is intentional conversations. We have a relationship, so we're going to have intentional conversations about what you have to do to reach your full potential, right? Your future is uncertain, so I don't know if you reach your full potential, that means you're going to start, that means you're going to play, that means you're going to be a backup, but the future's uncertain. All you can control is your ability to reach your full potential, and that's the conversations we have to have. Is, hey, here's where you're at right now. Here's where we as a coaching staff believe your full potential can be, right? And you have to embrace that too. No matter if your ceiling's really high or maybe your ceiling's not as high, because sometimes if you don't recognize where your ceiling is at, you tend to blame somebody else on the outcome. And I think that's just important, to continue to have conversations. We have relationships. I don't want to re-recruit you. I just want to continuously have intentional conversations with you and tell you, hey, I don't know what means for you next year, right? Even if you're a starter, if you're a backup, if you're not playing, I can't guarantee if you reach your full potential, this is what's going to be the outcome of it in the future. But I can talk to you about the ways that you can improve to truly reach your full potential.
Secondly, you mentioned Tate Johnson, so I'll add him to this, but I was thinking players, freshmen such as Logan Saldate, players that have not played and now with 4 games left can play. And there's obviously the three game guys as well. Over the bye week, did anyone kind of work their way into, hey, we can now give him a shot because there's only 4 games left?
We've had those conversations about guys that have played 3 games or maybe 4 games, and hey, do we want to burn his red shirt? And here's guys that haven't played that we can utilize maybe in a special teams role or offensive defensive role. Yeah, there's some freshmen that we've said, hey, if put him as a backup maybe on special teams right now in case the starter goes down or we need to get him in the game because it won't burn his red shirt. But yeah, all freshmen will be available in that realm in terms of if they haven't played their 4 or probably 3, and we need to use them, especially at home games where you're not worried about a travel roster. We got to make sure we can utilize some of those guys.
Front row, John Rice.
Hey, Marcus, I wonder, as you did some self-scouting over this open date, where you felt like your offensive identity is and how you kind of continue to enhance that over the season's final month.
Yeah, I still think our ability to run the ball is something that we have to be able to do, and we've done a really good job at doing that, which creates some abilities to throw the ball down the field. And that's what we got to continue to do. We still have to be able to run the ball no matter who's the person running the ball, but and be able to take some shots down the field when teams are going to add an extra hat to the box. We've really worked on that. We've worked the fundamentals of every position on our team, that we have to continue to enhance, to improve. But I still want to be an offense that runs the football, creates explosive plays down the field, takes advantage of those explosive plays. We've done that, but we got to continue to get better at it.
One of the first times I ever talked to you, you talked about career goals of eventually one day becoming a head coach. Now, you obviously are a head coach, but you're going against the Florida State team that was the first team you faced as Notre Dame's defensive coordinator. Can you take a moment to reflect or think back on what that's been like for you and just kind of this being a full circle moment?
Yeah, when you say that, I think about 2019 when I was defense coordinator at Cincinnati. We faced Mike Norvell twice. He was the head coach at Memphis, and I've had a lot of respect for him as a head coach and an offensive mind since those 2 games. We played them back to back, and he's an innovative mind. And as I got to hear in 2021, again, he has a unique ability, a way to every week do something to try to put your defense at conflict. I talked with Coach Golden this morning about it's even hard to say this is what they do because every week he's trying, you can see him, he's trying to do whatever he can to help his offense have success. And he's not just going to say this is what we do. We're going to give you different formations. We're going to do different concepts. And so I have a lot of respect for him. But I know that's a roundabout answer to your question. For me, I continue to, just stay in the moment. I know it's a cliche answer, but, I've always believed you take care of what you're doing right now and work as hard as you can, and the future will take care of itself. And for me, I've been fortunate and blessed to now I'm the head coach at Notre Dame. But just continue to just stay in the moment, man, and do what it takes to be the best head coach and best leader for this program that I can be.
Front row on your left, Tyler Horka.
You mentioned Florida State's talent probably not matching up to their record, but I'm curious what the challenge is. And when earlier in the year, you guys might have thought that Florida State would come here at 8-1. Instead, they're 1-8. Just the challenges of going into that. I know you've had 2 weeks to think about that, but it's kind of like a unique situation.
Yeah. I think about for them, I'm sure it's pretty tough being a head coach and knowing you have a lot of that talent, but the outcome hasn't been what you want it to be. You just put your head down and find ways to help your team improve. for us, it's again, it's one of 12 guaranteed opportunities. You're playing Florida State at home in a night game, and what a great opportunity. You have to respect that opportunity by the way you prepare. And that's what I'm continuing to preach, is that our preparation physically and mentally has to be better than what it was in the past. Because if you do the same thing, the natural gravitational pull is going to make you worse. And that's what I told the guys last week, is that if we think we do the same thing this bye week that we did last bye week and we think we're going to get better, that's not how God created this earth. There's a natural gravitational pull. If you do the same thing, you're going to get worse. So we have to elevate. We have to elevate in the way our preparation is this week than it was in the weeks before. And we pushed them hard. But there's got to be another step for this program.
What did it say about Jalen Sneed, where you guys said it was going to be a 5-man linebacker rotation, but he's been the fifth guy for most of the year, but he comes out against Navy and plays like the first or second guy. And how was that received by the locker room, given what he's been through in 3 years?
It's a great example of last week was probably his best week of preparation, exceptional week of preparation. Is it because he's played against Navy before? Did he have clarity in what he was asked to do? But he had an excellent week of preparation, and it reflected in the way he played in the game. But I think I'm going to go back to what I originally maybe said earlier about every week your role can change, right? And that's what I respect about Jalen, but everybody on our team, is that you still got to put team glory in front of yourself. Jalen Sneed put himself in a position to have some individual glory. He played really well, but it was because we had team glory, right? If we didn't have team glory, nobody would be asking me about a whole bunch of individuals from that game in a positive way. And so just continue to dive into team glory and what it takes. Your role might change each week, and a snap of the finger, you get individual glory like Jalen Sneed did.
On your right, front row, Pete Sampson.
Kind of similar question to John about self-scout and looking at who you are at quarterback with Riley. What do you think has been the biggest uptick for him over the last 3 weeks, sort of from bye week 1 to bye week 2?
I just think it's the confidence, starting with the confidence. He has confidence in what he's being asked to do. He's making fast decisions. They're not always perfect, but he's making fast decisions, man, and confident decisions. We all know he has the ability to tuck the ball and run and create a first down out of nothing. But he's really doing a great job of building that relationship with Denbrock, so they know exactly what each other are thinking, how comfortable each one feels with each call, and then the confidence he has in those guys around him has been tremendous. And so it's just continuously building on week by week what he's done. And I think for him, he's settling in you're the quarterback at Notre Dame, In the first 2 weeks, he saw the highest of high to the lowest of lows. And he was able to say, okay, I get it. And now put your head down and go to work and do the things it takes to make yourself as the quarterback of this place the best quarterback you can be. And he's continuously doing that and doing a heck of a job at it.
I was interested in why you think your defense has been able to be so good at getting pressure. And I asked that in the sense of, like, Boubacar's out, Patella's out. I mean, Anya had a lot of pressures. You think the blitz Morrison had that was a kind of a fumble. Like, how have you guys been able to get pressure regardless of maybe who's in the lineup?
Yeah, I think it still starts with those two big guys in the middle. Riley and Howard. They create some disruptions for the offensive line that really lets maybe other people get the credit for the pressure. But I think what you've seen is the production divvy, really spread out amongst other people. You're not just going to replace Boubacar or Jordan Patella with one person, but we're able to keep fresh guys in there. They're relentlessly attacking the quarterback, and the guys inside, man, are really giving those guys a chance to make some plays. And so it's a collective group effort, but we won't be successful unless those two big guys inside are continuously playing at a high level. And that's probably, you go back to their stats. Their stats don't reflect the value they have for our defense. Those two guys, Howard and Riley, are truly difference maker in the run and the pass game. Stats don't always tell that story, but we know, and people that really evaluate the game try to understand the difference they make.
Up the middle on your left, Mike Berardino.
Marcus, maybe an update on C.J. Carr, and if he's not back yet, is surgery something that is in the mix at all for him? Okay.
No, it doesn't have to get surgery. It's still returning to being able to throw. We would probably see a progression for him to start throwing here soon. We've been overly cautious on his return to play. We don't need to rush it. Let's make sure he is 110% healed, right? If he was the starting quarterback this year, you probably would have pushed him a little bit more aggressively, but we want to be smart with making sure he is 110% healed, really rehabbing his elbow to a point where he's better than probably what he was previously.
Thanks. And then this being an election season, and you got
A what?
bye week, an election environment. We don't talk about that much, but you had a bye week last week. I wonder if there's any encouragement. Was there a discussion among the team in terms of going to civic duty, and maybe a reminder to them of which they do a great job of avoiding the hazards of social media in that realm?
Yeah. We talked to our guys about registering to vote in the summer, right? And the ability, it took a lot of work to, hey, are you going to register in Indiana, register back home in your home state? And so we were very proactive at doing that for those guys that wanted to do it in the summer. And, some could do absentee ballots, and they will all have the ability to go vote on Tuesday if they want to. That's about it.
Front row on the left, once we can get him the microphone, Jack Sobel.
Hey, Marcus. I noticed that Tay Johnson was listed as the backup corner to Leonard Moore. I think when we saw him in fall camp, he was playing mostly safety. I think that's what he was supposed to be when he came in. Like, what did you see from him both before he got hurt and since he's been back that shows you someone who could potentially help right away if you get another injury or two and at that specific position?
Yeah, I think it's a credit to his skill set. He can play multiple positions. Shoot, Tay Johnson play receiver if we needed to. He's a great athlete. And we're just looking at the depth of our corners, obviously, with some injuries, just what we needed for this defense right now at this time. That's the role we need him to be in.
Wanted to ask about Jordan Faison. He was injured a lot. He came back against Georgia Tech, and even though he didn't put up the stats, you were adamant that he had a great game that day, and he obviously had the stats last week. Like, I'm curious if you could dive into what you saw on tape against Georgia Tech that said like he was playing at a high level, he was ready to break out, and then kind of what does he add to this offense that you might not have had when he was down?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with him is when what he puts on film and practice in the game is a guy that does exactly what he's asked to do, and really performs at a high level. The way you run routes, right? Just because you don't get the ball or make the catch, it doesn't mean that you aren't doing 100% what we're asking you to do. The way he blocked, and now that he's returning to pretty much full health, we were able to obviously get him the ball last week and create some big plays with him, man. But he is, he's a game changer. He is a great football player. He is tough, practices at such a high level, studies the game, and is a huge part of this offense now and will continue to be a huge part of our team moving forward. He's a valuable member to this program.
That's our time for today. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.